Welcome, Albert. Good to see you, my friend.
Cheers.
Good to see you. Cheers. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Vanakkam, namaste, namaskar. Great to see you all here. I'm glad you could make it for Albert's presentation today. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll wait for a couple of more minutes. We're just waiting for more people to come in. And good afternoon from India. And I think it's good evening from Sydney, where Albert is right now. Welcome, Pari. Welcome, Amit. Namaskar. And I can't pronounce it, but Rudding, Salil, Amanda, Melissa. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you all. Welcome to the ecotourism journey of Albert Teo. He is the Vice Chairman of Asian Ecotourism Network. This is a webinar from Asian Ecotourism Network series. Every month we will be bringing stalwarts like him to you to talk about different aspects of ecotourism. I'm so happy to see you all here. Let me now quickly introduce Albert to you and myself as well. A lot of you may not know who I am, so let me get started. It's a little longish introduction, but I'm sure you're going to enjoy. So Albert is the charter member and the vice chair of Asian Ecotourism Network, a graduate in economics from the university in 1977. Albert has been in the tourism industry for the last 43 years. He founded the Borneo Eco Tours and SUKAU Rainforest Lodge, both winning numerous international awards, including Asia's leading green hotel, Wild Asia Responsible Award, Pata Tourism Inspire Award, Malaysian Association of Tours and Travel Agents. He's the founder of the non-profit Borneo Eco Tourism Solutions and Technologies, which is called BEST, which received the UN WTO Ulysses Award for Excellence and Innovation in Tourism. He has also served in various capacities in the tourism industry, including Sabah chapter, chairman of Malaysian Association of Tours and Travel Agents, chairman of Sabah Tourist Association, board of advisors to the International Ecotourism Society, and marketing committee of the Sabah Tourism Board. Albert received the Special Minister's Award in 2019 at the Sabah Tourism Award Night. He's a keen photographer and a prolific writer, an author with 10 published books, including the best-selling Sabah Land of the Sacred Mountain, Journey Through Borneo, Saving Paradise, the story of SUKAU Rainforest Lodge, co-authored with Carol Patterson, and his latest book, A Souvenir of Sabah, Malaysian Borneo. Wow, that's really impressive. Thank you for being here, Albert. I'm so happy that you're going to be talking to a lot of people here. I'll quickly introduce myself as well. I'm Mohit Agarwal. I'm blessed with 4 children, a son and a daughter, and 2 non-humans. One is a Labrador and one is an escapee African grey. I'm the follower of Shiva. Professionally, I'm an experiential ecotourism specialist with deep love for nature. I help people travel to some wonderful places in Asia. I'm the founder of Asian Adventures, a 26-year-old travel company. It is the largest and #1 bird watching company in India. The company is on a large mission to help Asian elephants with their corridors, free the Himalayas of plastic waste, and help small wildlife NGOs, and also save the ancient Himalayan shrines. My interest is to promote ecotourism in its true essence and convert every tourist to an ecotourist. So that was a bit about Albert and about me. So friends, over to Albert, because we've got only an hour to go, and I want all the time for Albert here and for you. Thank you. Over to you, Albert.
Thank you, Mohit. Good afternoon. Sydney is now 7:30 p.m. Glad to do this presentation with Mohit this evening. I would have to introduce myself quickly. As Mohit has said, I graduated in economics, but that was very little to do with tourism. So I had no expertise or experience in tourism when I came out to work, but I worked 14 years in a family hotel and then venture out to start Borneo Eco Tours. So I have basically learned most of it on the job. So I like to share with you my experience the last 30 years in ecotourism, and hope that you learn something from the mistake I made, as well as some of the good things that I did along the way. So I will start off with the presentation. Mohit, you may want to switch on. Yes. Okay. I thought I will title this as how ecotourism has benefited conservation in Kinabatangan this time, using our case study, Borneo Eco Tours and SUKAU Rainforest Lodge. Why the two companies? Basically, I started Borneo Eco Tours first, and in 1991, 4 years later, I started SUKAU Rainforest Lodge. I always felt that if you run an eco tours to the remote area, you have to have a good accommodation and meals together with it. So that's how I ended up starting an eco lodge. But along the way, I started the community and environment projects to complement what I did, and eventually set up my own NGO along the way. So the principle I used basically was defined on ecotourism, which was the key to what I did. And along the way, I realized that there were so many elements, especially these 5 key elements, which I tried to implement in my business. The first was being responsible environmentally, and because I work in a natural environment, I had to be ecologically sustainable. The fourth one was that it had to be beneficial to the community that I work with. So this is very important. And ecotourism has to have a lot of interpretation and education to make it truly sustainable. So I also am a member of a global ecotourism network, of which Asia Ecotourism Network is a part of the Asian chapter. Okay, because I work very much in a natural environment, so therefore sustainability is very important, and the intersection is basically where ecotourism is. So we have to be very niche in that sense. The market I have is not big. It is a small market, but it's a niche market because it requires us to be very sensitive to the natural environment, as well as help with the community that we work with. So we had to practice the triple bottom line, which is shown here, in the purple color right in the middle. But I have to admit that in the beginning, it was not as sustainable as this, because the first thing I did was to make sure my business is profitable so that I can work on the other areas. Working with the community is probably a bit towards the latter part, except other than employing the community. But the environmental part only come some years along the business, because we have to understand the environment first of all in order to help create this triple sustainability bottom line. So it is very much a journey, because like I say, I started with on the ground floor without any experience in tourism, no ecotourism. So it is along the way that I discovered a lot of these things through research, through study, through reading a lot of books and interaction in the marketplace with people who are expert and more experienced than me. I basically operate in the northern part of Borneo, so that is a small area. My office is really based on the west coast, Kota Kinabalu. The east coast is where we have to fly to in Sandakan. And further south, the third arrow right at the bottom right is where the lodge is. In those days, 1995, to get there takes about 7-8 hours. First to fly to Sandakan and then overland. So it's a long journey. It's a very remote place. So you can imagine the logistic of all the food supply, the manpower to train the local community is a huge what you call learning curve for me along the way. So of course, on hindsight, we can show all these awards that we got, but it is the first few years is very challenging because we have to find out, read a lot, and see how to implement all these policies. So it is incremental, really, and fine-tuning and making all the mistakes along the way so that we can continue to improve along the way. So this is not an overnight success thing. It is a long 30 years journey. I have to admit that it is challenging at times. The first few years, almost to the point of bankruptcy, because it was so difficult without expertise. These days, it's a lot easier for a lot of people because they can study ecotourism and work as an intern with many companies, including us, and learn the tricks of the trade. So to get to SUKAU, you have to take 2.5 hours to get overland. The alternative is to go by speedboat along the coastal area up the river. So the lodge is on the river, Kinabatangan. So this is why this topic is named Kinabatangan, because that's where the wildlife sanctuary is. And this is the area which is the best, one of the mega biodiversity hotspot in the world, I would say, because it's a wetlands, riverine wetlands area with a lot of wildlife. Now, the lodge itself over the last 25 years has also received a lot of recognition. We have got 2 Hall of Fame awards, each one more than 5 years. So it has built up a reputation of its own and became part of the unique lodges of the world under the National Geographic National Geographic brand. Of course, since last year, this unique lodge has been discontinued, unfortunately. When we started, it was the lodge was just 20 rooms, very simple one in 1995 due to lack of financial resources. So as in all business, when you start, you can't start on the 5-star basis because of the lack of financial resources and expertise. But along the way, we upgrade ourselves, and this is the lodge where the sanctuary is. So I'll be focusing a lot on where the sanctuary is. So this is an overnight stop for tourists who want to visit this wildlife sanctuary area. Some of the key iconic species of this area are shown here on the slides. 10 primates in all in this region, including the Borneo pygmy elephant, the smallest in the world. Sumatran rhino used to be found here. That's the smallest rhinoceros in the world, but it has since been, they have not seen this for many years now. Orangutan is still quite well seen in this part of the Sabah rainforest. And we have also 8 species of hornbill besides other species. So it's very good for wildlife sighting, which is probably why we are so passionate about saving this part of Borneo as what we call a saving paradise. The guy on the left, Kari Ongong, was the one who persuaded me to come to Kinabatangan to set up a lodge here in SUKAU because he realized he had a vision to see that timber logging was at the end and that the people, the relatives of his, had to find a job. So we end up coming here to create job opportunity for the local, for his relatives, first of all, and for the relatives, for the community as a whole in 1995. And during this time, I realized that also that the people there were very poor, living in poverty. And this is the reason why I felt passionate about creating job employment, which is the first step out of economic, out of poverty to create economic development and build social stability. The lady there is from Canada, who co-authored the book with me called Saving Paradise. So over the years, some 5 years ago, this is our manpower that we have built up. Many of them are from local communities. So we have been able to create a lot of job opportunity for the last 25 years until COVID hit us. But in spite of COVID, we still have a skeleton staff of 7-8 people who are working full-time to maintain the lodge. And at least it has given them, some of them, a breather to see through COVID. So in spite of generating no income, we still have to spend a lot of our reserve on maintaining the staff payroll. You can see two squares here, the left and the right. The left one is where the lodge is located. We bought the adjoining piece 5 years ago to build another 20 villas. This is the area. 2-3 years ago, we bought this piece for conservation purpose. In other words, we'll use it to protect the rainforest here for research purpose and also for, to generate income for our NGO, non-profit organization called BEST. So this is part of the strategy whereby we have a lodge, we have a tour company, we have an NGO to create a long-term sustainable income to run our projects. So I guess my journey and my game plan, my business model is very different because I have a tour company and a lodge that generate profit. Part of that is channeled into my NGO, Best Society, which enables me to see long-term environment project continue with the work of sustainability. So when I built the lodge, we actually have a boardwalk with a gap to allow elephants to pass through our land. This unfortunately was not possible after 10 years when the adjoining piece of land was cleared and they built a long big ditch so the elephant could not cross over. So elephant did not use the boardwalk. This boardwalk called Kari was named after Kari who actually wanted me to start the lodge there. So that we named this after him. So initially we built only on 20% of the land. The 80% was kept as a reserve for the elephant to pass through and use as a stopover on their migration up and down the river. So that was really good design. So that was intentionally done so that we want to encourage to ensure that we coexist with the wildlife who was there before us. So what we did was, this was a key part of a process of our growth towards conservation of Kinabatangan. We actually set aside a small budget in the beginning for $1 US from our lodge, $2 US from the tour company, and another few dollars, $3 or so from our tourists. So together with our tourists, we set out the fund which goes into the Best Society, and this enabled us to carry out many community and environment projects all over the state of Sabah, which is probably the key foundation for why we were able to sustain so long and won the UN WTO award in the process. Oh, by the way, if you if you, if I can, if I can't go back, huh? Anyway, so few years ago, we built another 20 villas adjoining because we realized that our old lot was getting old and need upgrading. And in order to do the upgrading, we had to build a new one so that we can transfer our business to the new villas, which you can see here in front of you, the 20 villas, so that the old villa was renovated the last 2 years. Unfortunately, COVID hit us and we were unable to resume the business. That's a view of the new villa, which is very beautiful, very well done. After many years of learning from our past experience and mistake, we decided to engage a very good architect who designed this and incorporate a lot of ethnic design into our construction. Yeah. So you wonder why we have some with the roof over the boardwalk and others without. This is the first part. The left photo is the first part. The right one is the latest boardwalk, named after Sir David Attenborough. It's a lot wider and very different concept and idea as we learn along the way. So we ensure that with a new piece of land, adjoining piece of land, we have to spread out the villa because they are of a higher standard, so that the tourists have more privacy and we don't have to put too much pressure on cutting trees down. So a lot of trees were intentionally kept to ensure that there is not too much overdevelopment on the new piece of land. Yeah, and you will see along the way why even on the boardwalk we left a lot of trees. It's only much recently that I realized that this was the trees here was really part of the wildlife corridor that I used to build on the ground. Now the trees were acting as a corridor on the tree canopy for the orangutan. To our surprise, a lot of times primates like orangutan, they don't come to the ground. They stay on top of the tree canopy. And it's crucial that we don't cut the trees to maintain the orangutan can cross from one part to the other part without having to come down for safety reasons. So this has proven to be very useful and probably explain why we have a resident orangutan as a result, because they feel safe here without having to come down. A lot of the trees we kept were actually tropical fruits for the wildlife. So that was, again, another bonus. You can see here the 2-bedroom villa on the left, and the boardwalk is a 1,000-foot lawn named after Sir David Attenborough, who stayed here before. Yeah, and we are so inspired by his stay that we try to make it very sustainable. So he was an inspiration very much for us and for me personally. You can imagine the amount of payroll we have to pay out each month. And this is just our tour company in Kota Kinabalu. It's not even all the staff here. So it's proven to be very taxing, but it has created a lot of benefit, economic benefit for the community as a whole. Now, the lodge is also very unique simply because we have the resident orangutan as a result of the way we design and build the lodge. So the land on which the lodge sits is also become a conservation area because of the trees we try to maintain. And so that the guests can often see orangutan and other wildlife even staying at the lodge. Yeah. Some of the other animals on the river cruise, very easy to see. Now this slide in the middle show the short-tailed macaque. is just an example of how wildlife need corridor from one side of the river to the other side using the ropes in this case. But in a natural environment, they use the trees to lead from tree to tree or from branch to branch. So this is key to our conservation strategy, but this rope was not built by us. Some of the bird life is incredible there. We have 8 species of hornbill. We have this broadbill kingfisher is the largest one in Sabah. Yeah. And some unique bird like darter and storm stork is often seen in this part of the world. Now, I show this slide simply because I read this book by Professor Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia University. I realized that I was operating in the area of my strength, which is 4, 5, and 6, human capital, business capital, and knowledge capital. This is where we business people use a lot of our skill set to build our business, entrepreneurship, and all that. Whereas the first 3, natural capital, infrastructure, and public institutional capital, were not within our domain. Little did I realize that after 25 years in the lodge, going back to number 1, which is natural capital, the biodiversity part, I realized that I've gone full circle and now have to ensure that our biodiversity, which is key to our business success, and has to be, if we are not sustainable in this area, our business is not sustainable. So that was a revelation to me. And I thought that it would be nice to share with all of you how important protecting our natural capital is to our business, especially in the coming decades with global warming threatening our business. We didn't realize in the beginning that, of course, taking care of the environment was key, but when our business improved, this is where we start focusing on, because we have to benefit the environment as well. So from the area that was clear for logging, we gradually do some tree planting 20 years back. 20 years back, we started this project, and 5 years ago, you can see the size of the tree with 2 of my staff who helped plant the tree. And it is quite a size. And this is a long-term project. So I wish we had more land to plant, which are nearer to the lodge. Yeah, but it is often not easy to find suitable land for planting. So this is where the elephant now often stay overnight as they migrate up and down the river. We started when we had Prince Henrik of Denmark, who was then the president of WWF Denmark in those days. And with the help of many people, including the student intern from Australia, Eddie Cohen, we were able to sustainably continue this project until the forest has already been fully established. So it is a challenging project, which we almost gave up because it was so hard. Every time you plant the trees, the elephant will come through and pluck all the trees seedling out of the ground, because this is unnatural for them in a way, because that is where they congregate. Strange phenomena. Yeah. So I've mentioned this already. So it's the last few years we decided to buy this plot of land when it was up for sale, so as to make sure that it is not bought and cleared for rubber, palm oil cultivation, as was the case with our neighboring land, which has been cleared and planted with rubber. Unfortunately, it prevents the elephant from crossing to our land as a result. Yeah. So over the years, BEST has also gained some recognition through the award, UNWTO award, because we gradually moved towards community in the first place, besides the environment. and we try not to give them welfare and charity, but to focus on building their own business so that they can be self-sustaining. So the key is whatever we do under our NGO to ensure that the business is sustainable for us and for everybody else. Yeah. I have to watch my time. It's half an hour already. Now, in recent times, there was more and more case of elephant encroaching into the palm oil plantation, especially the smallholders who did not have electric fencing around their land. So there was a lot of human-elephant conflict as in other parts of the world. Yeah. And this is just an example. In one night, they can eat up 50 acres of palm oil land planted by community. The community leader used to tell me, the chief used to tell me that there was a law against killing elephant, because if they are caught killing elephant, they will go to jail. Whereas if elephant destroy all their crops, the elephant can get away scot-free. So they were lamenting the fact that they had no protection and couldn't afford the electric fencing. So it is a really tough and challenging. So it led us to try out a different approach using bee farming. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the bee fencing approach did not work well because we couldn't get the bees to do well in SUKAU, probably because the environment, humidity, and all the other thing is very different from the way that we brought the bees from. So this is one of the projects we find it so challenging as part of our conservation strategy to protect the elephant, at the same time to help the community to maintain the economic livelihood. But if we can, the risk of elephant killing, poaching, and poisoning is always there. And this is something that has yet to be resolved. Yeah, these are all the projects that a lot of money spent on it, but no result at the moment. I haven't tasted my first drop of honey yet. So another approach we do, which is very good, this fisherman called Musaling, he owned a 5-acre land. This is a pilot project. He wanted to protect the land here, the forest here, because this is where elephants stop over to swim across the river. So he wanted us to see how we can work together. So we sell a tour to his land with him as a guide, to show the land, all the wildlife there that can be seen, so that he doesn't have to cut down in return for the benefits we generate for him. So in the first year, we were able to generate 5,000 Malaysian in the first year. Unfortunately, COVID struck, so he is also facing the same dilemma like us. Yeah, he used to be a fisherman, so I guess he had to go back to fishing. And the land here, you can see, is beautiful piece of land that he wants to keep for his children. So this is a good conservation strategy for a lot cheaper than buying the land. And so they can diversify their income base as well. This is another way of helping the community through ecotourism. Another way we tried to experiment was in the last few years, we also tried to build some artificial hornbill nest and hang them up on the trees. Because in the early days, all the big trees that has hollow, which is the nest for the hornbill, have all been cut down over the years. So what is left is the smaller trees. And therefore, hornbill population, especially some key species, were not able to find homes, nest, and living only the few that are very common ones, because they are smaller species. So what we try here is to find solution to increase population of hornbill. So far, we have installed 3 hornbills nest. of different size. This is a very interesting project built by the local person who built this out of plywood and all that and hang up on the tree with the help of some community and an NGO. I just click on this video just to show you that using the camera trap, the hornbill did actually visit this place. Oh, seems like the video doesn't work here. Anyway, it shows the two hornbill, male and female, inspecting this nest that was at the back of our lodge. I'm told that it normally takes about 2 to 3 years for them to get used to the nest before they actually make use of it. So sorry, I can't show you the video. Now, this is a recent project which we thought that we would try and experiment. We bought this piece of land that I show you, 5 over acres, and tried to keep it because it was up for sale and somebody want to buy it for plantation. So we bought this and turned it into a land conservancy. We put up this building so that we can set up a research center called SUKAU Ecotourism Research Center, with the idea that we will generate income through this accommodation here, so that we can use their income to pioneer other projects. Yeah, you can probably see an elephant on the land before we even built the building, put up the building, some 2-3 years ago. So this is just beginning to be used when COVID hit us. The latest project last month was a research project carried out by the forestry department to do an inventory on the butterflies, the insect of this area. So this eventually will become a research center for ecotourism. The impact of ecotourism, both positive and negative, on the community and the environment. So hopefully we will attract students from overseas to come and do research in this part of the world, so that we can improve our knowledge of the importance of biodiversity in Kinabatangan. So that is part of our strategy. This is the land that we bought. You can see the red line along it. Is beautiful piece of land with all the trees, a lot of fruit trees, so that wildlife will use this as a, what you call that, as a center for their safety net for them. If the surrounding area should be clear, at least they have this place for safety. And I thought I would show you this slide because it's very interesting. When I bought this piece, I gave a loan to the NGO, interest-free loan, and one of them, some of them actually came forward to support us with donation and all that. Some of these are like this young man, Jacob Woods from Australia, who organized a Christmas concert in Australia some 2-3 years ago and raised 7,000, a few thousand, 15,000 ringgit Malaysia for us as part of the purchase of this piece of land. So we have been able to raise some, so far 30-40% of the purchase price of this land. Yeah. I have 2 operators from Australia and a university from Australia supporting us so far until COVID came. So a lot of our conservation project has also been put on hold because of all these things. The rooms are very Spartan with a bed, mosquito net, kitchen and toilet and all these things. Yeah. Facility was completed just around the COVID last year when it hit us. The facility is very good, more than enough for research students, and hopefully we will be able to encourage people to understand the biodiversity and therefore to appreciate and do conservation of the Kinabatangan region. So this is really a long-term strategic plan to protect the environment as a contribution to the environment. So we offer a very reasonable price so that to promote this place that eventually will, I believe, contribute a lot to conservation effort. Towards as we approach the end, I just show you this one. People will probably be interested how we got the funding. Now, NGO work is hard. It's hard. Raising funds is even harder. So what we did was we started small with a small contribution on our own, from our own companies. And I think most people never start because it's so overwhelming. But if we think about setting aside a small budget just to test out the viability, sustainability of all this, and then you gradually build up over the years. When we started, we actually did not have the NGO. We started in 1995, our community and environment project. It's only 10 years later, 11, 12 years later that we set up the NGO when it outgrew itself. And you can see from here that Borneo Eco Tours and SUKAU Rainforest Lodge contribute about 40% of the total income. Yeah, so it is not very transparent if we are to ask people to contribute to our conservation project, if the funds go to Borneo Eco Tours direct or SUKAU Rainforest, because there is no accountability, no transparency. So that's the reason why we started set up our own NGO. And in the process, we also got funds from other people who feel confident, who trust us, and have, because we have built our credibility over so many years. So you can see in the slide some of the key sponsors, some of those partners. So we have built up our own partners all over the world, and some sponsors who supported us for what we do and what we believe in. But really, to depend on outsider is very challenging, because to write a project paper is very time consuming and it takes a lot of manpower hours. So this is a real challenge for us, even as we run this. But we were only able to maintain 2 staff before COVID hit us. The rest of us in Borneo Eco Tours and SUKAU, we were all working as volunteers without pay. But this is where the sustainability issue come in. I think as a lodge and tour operator, this is an opportunity to give back to the community and the environment, even though we also have an NGO alongside to support. So a lot of the logistic, the infrastructure were using that of Borneo Eco Tours and SUKAU, which is not accounted for. But most important, I would say, is the expertise, the management, the financial expertise that we have from Borneo Eco Tours to support the NGO, without which it will be challenging to run the NGO and do so many projects. I believe this is the last slide. Okay, so here are my website, the 3 organizations, in case any of you is interested to find out how and what we do. We have the Facebook as well. Feel free to explore the projects that we've done through bestsociety.org. Many of it is mentioned there, though maybe quite brief, but it will show you a lot more of all the challenges we face, including some of the projects which we have failed over the years, because we learned a lot also through failures. So with that, I conclude my presentation, and I hand it back to our MC, Mohit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Albert. This was absolutely fantastic. You know, it's an eye-opener. It's a win-win situation for the tourists, the local people, the business people who actually are the conduits into establishing sustainability and to ensure future. So there's a bit of give and take at every step, which ensures fair distribution. So I think with the establishment of BEST, along with Borneo Eco Tours and SUKAU Rainforest Lodge, it completes the entire string of beads which is required for end-to-end solution. So although it's work in progress, and I appreciate your capacity to take this as the leader in Sabah, it's important to understand that these are the examples that we need to learn from, and we need to go ahead. What I've done, friends, ladies and gentlemen, is that I pasted some links here for you to join Asian Ecotourism Network, which is where Albert and I come from, and we are committed to taking the cause of ecotourism further in our lives. And we want your support. We want you to be active in it. And if you've got any great ideas, please come forward. If you want to be sailing the ship with us, please come forward. And we will always have a huge number of options for you to be active with us. At the end of it, it's generation after generation that we have to continue to make things better, sustainable on this planet. Although we are drawing a lot of resources all the time, but we need to understand that, how to walk softly through the forest. What I mean is that how to walk sensibly over this planet. And tourism is something which is a double-edged sword. It can either ruin things for us or it can make things for us. So let's take the better option, which is to make things better for us. We all can enjoy what Mother Earth has given us in terms of wildlife, natural resources, all the elements that will nurture our five senses. So it's really, really important that we start to look at ecotourism and the science of ecotourism, not touch it on its periphery, not touch the surface, but actually deep dive into the experiences and the science that's been developed by the bodies like GSTC or TravLife and other bodies, and they are extending all the help to all of us to take this forward. Would you like to ask any questions to Albert? If you would like to, then just go ahead and type in the chat bar, because then Albert can reply to you. We still have a few more minutes to go before we end the session. And I'd like, Albert, if you've got more things to say, just go ahead.
While I'm waiting for the question, I have to say that starting something new is always the hardest part. Because most of us, when we start something, we don't know all the answer. So having the courage and the perseverance to start something is a very important component of doing any project. Yeah. So we learn a lot along the way, and try to fine-tune it. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. And Dragan says that I've always admired the SUKAU Lodge and hope to visit it someday. Absolutely, Dragan, you should visit it. It is beautiful. I went there and I was bowled over because there were orangutans and there were hornbills, and in the first hour that I spent there, I had almost 18 different species. There was a snake, there were birds, there were mammals, and the place, and of course it had the most beautiful team. They were so concerned. They told me that, in very endearing terms that they don't want to hurt my emotion, but there are certain rules to follow. And if we follow those rules, then we'll just make the place even better and our own experience is better. So whenever you're at SUKAU and you're going to stay at SUKAU Rainforest Lodge, I'm telling you, this will be the highlight of your lifetime. You know, this is not something that you'd forget ever. Going out in those boats and looking for wildlife and looking for, at night going into the jungles, the rainforest, it might sound very eerie, but I'm telling you, you feel so safe because they are the experts. You know, they'll show you the buffy fish owl right outside the lodge, and then there are a whole lot of other animals and birds whether you'd be able to photograph. And the food, oh my God, that's something that, you know, you'd want to go there for, you'll die for. So SUKAU is, yes, put some curry
and vegetarian dim sum.
Yes, and vegetarian dim sum, correct. Because I'm vegetarian, so I got my vegetarian fare, which was absolutely magnificent. You know, the freshness and the farm produce and the local people bringing things in. It was a different world. You know, we just need to get there sometime or the other, as soon as we can. The thing that I want to tell you, friends, is that go deeper into the concept of ecotourism. You know, understand what ecotourism is all about. It's not just about not using plastic straws. It's not just about using, just being mindful of certain things. It's a lot deeper than that. And I'm telling you that it's a full. You can spend a lifetime understanding ecotourism in its true essence. You know, so that's my take on this. Any questions, friends? Okay, I guess people will still take time. You know, this platform is such that it does take time for people to, whenever they write something, it takes a few seconds or maybe a minute for it to appear in the chat bar.
Yeah, maybe I can say a few more. It's last 2 years that I started having this no plastic policy, no single-use plastic policy at the lodge, using bamboo straw, using reusable water bottle, and I mean, starting it is hard. People have to change their habit, but once you do it, I think gradually people will get to accept it. I think changing mindset is one of the most challenging things in life. Even for ourselves, we find it hard to do. I mean, when we started 20 over years ago, we used electric motor for the river cruise, especially for those who like photography and wildlife. It was very painful because it cost us to import an electric motor from America. Yeah, but if we are particular about small things, eventually the lodge will be branded as such.
Yes, because it won't spew oil droplets on the water. That place is rich with wildlife and birds and other places. So the electric motors really help. You know, SUKAU boats go without any pollution into the water, and they make the experience so wonderful. I'm sure they have only limited charge to them, you know, but I guess the dynamos or things like that would be working. But they bring you back home safe in 2 hours or 3 hours after showing you whatever they do.
I need to qualify that we use electric motor when the current is not strong in small streams, but on the main river we have to use a 4-stroke, and we normally use 4-stroke engine, not a 2-stroke or 3-stroke or whatever. Yeah, so we try to minimize pollution and noise as much as possible. So it has to be practical as well. Yeah, because electric motor is not a very big and powerful one. It's limited in terms of capacity.
Right. Absolutely. So these are the middle paths that we got to establish. You know what works and what doesn't work, and then as technology advances, we just need to take the best foot forward. Let's not equate everything with money all the time, but we need to look at. We need to be judicious about things. You know, which will pay us in long term and which will pay the environment in long term. I think it's very important to draw balances as we go along. Everything has to be vetted out. And I'll tell you what, Albert, I figured that the best vetting out is done by our clients, you know, who tell us, you know, how they basically are holding our hands and saying, hey, don't go wrong here and don't go wrong here. You know, so that's such a beautiful journey.
I say in the beginning that our lodge is a niche. Our business is very small. We don't go for mass tourism. And so we just narrow down our focus on people who appreciate nature, wildlife, and the environment. So the little things count a lot. So some people will probably appreciate the fact that we use a lot of recycled wood to build our boardwalk, for example. Yeah. So these are the little things that we try to do. Our lodge is decorated with a lot of ethnic handicrafts, for example. It increased my cost, but it adds color and uniqueness to the lodge, because the lodge is probably most decorated in the whole Borneo in terms of local handicrafts.
Absolutely. And then, you know, friends, this is also the year of rural tourism. You know, so UNWTO gave 2021 the theme, the year of rural tourism. So it's, and then it sort of coincided with the wrath of COVID that we all faced. And most people want to go to places which are rural in nature, which are back of beyond, and they are refraining from going to these mass tourism sites. So it's a win-win situation for people to understand at the local level in the rural areas the importance of tourism. But you, as tourists, have the responsibility to know what an ecotourist should do and how you can help a small entrepreneur, a business person in the rural areas to scale up his business by being responsible, and how to carve out that small little ways of responsibility is completely our responsibility. So that's my take on that, Albert, and I'm happy that you could make it here. We still have 2 minutes to go before we wind up. My friends, if you've got any thing to ask, go ahead. Otherwise, I've also posted the link of bestsociety.org, and you can always get in touch with Albert directly, and he'd be happy to answer all your questions. You know.
Maybe while waiting for a question, I just want to make this comment. Today I went to the IKEA shop to have a look, and to my very surprise, I saw that IKEA is promoting the word sustainability, sustainable wood. They promote the use of bamboo. They use the bamboo wood that is harvested. Sustainability. The key word is sustainability. I think that IKEA is on the cutting edge of the global trend. I think that with climate being a big issue, we're going to see more and more businesses focusing on the environment in the future. Yeah, so I think those of us doing ecotourism would have to take note and make sure that our business model also shift along with that.
Absolutely, 110%. You know, I'm so glad, Albert, you could make it, because you know I've known you as a friend, and I know the depth that you have when it comes to ecotourism and the amount of information. Of course, in 1 hour you can't deliver everything, but you came here, and that itself means a lot to me and to the participants here. So thank you very much. And I hope to get everybody on board with the Asian Ecotourism Network as we go along, because this series of Asian Ecotourism Network webinars will continue to happen every month. So friends, keep your eyes open. We will be getting in touch with you. Do not wait to sign up. But in case if you do miss out after signing up, you'll get the replay link. So not to worry. You'll always be kept in the loop. Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mohit. Great to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.